conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this public workshop for the Access for All Transit Plan. That is our Human Services Transportation Plan update. And we will be getting into more of the details of what that entails later on. But I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening, and I'm just going to kick it off with a few quick introductions. So my name is David Heller. I'm a program manager at the South Jersey Transportation Planning Organization. We're the MPO who is officially preparing this Human Services Transportation Plan. Now I will pass it off to the other people here in the room.
Yep. I don't know if you can see me. We'll see if the owl puts my picture into frame, and there we go. Hi, my name is Benjamin Woodward. I'm an assistant planner here with the SJTPO. And, thank you all for being here. And then I would like to pass it off to Claire.
And hi, everyone. My name is Claire Hutchinson. I'm a transportation planner with WSP, and we are the firm that is helping SJTPO develop these Access for All transit plans. And then lovely. And then like Andrew, Jasmine, and Anthony, you all can introduce yourselves as well.
Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Levecchio, project manager at WSP, supporting Claire.
How you doing? I'm Anthony Powers. I'm the manager of project development at New Jersey Transit.
Hi everyone, I'm Jasmine Wallach. I'm a transportation planning intern with WSP.
Lovely. Thank you, Anthony, for telling us what organization you're attending from. Obviously, if you have specific questions from your perspective at NJ Transit, feel free to ask them. And we are going to run through the presentation as is because SJTPO is planning to post have the recording available in case anyone asks for it. But I recognize you may have more specific questions at certain points. So obviously just chime in if you have them. All right, with that. Oh, you're sharing the meeting.
Yep.
Okay, no.
Here we go.
Okay. Alrighty. So as mentioned, tonight we are talking about the Access for All transit plans. So introductions we have done. Easy. But overall the agenda, talking about what are coordinated plans, identifying the SJTPO's effort with the Access for All transit plans, doing an overview of some of the key findings from the project thus far, and then any next steps and questions at the end. So starting with what are coordinated plans? Coordinated plans are a federally required document that identifies transportation needs, provides strategies for meeting said needs, and prioritizes transportation services for funding. Coordinated plans are specifically focused on improving transportation for older adults, people with disabilities, and people with low incomes. However, some of the recommendations included in coordinated plans may benefit other groups as well, incidentally. And as mentioned, coordinated plans, they are required for some federal funding programs, in particular Section 5310, which is the Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Disabled Grant Program administered by the FTA, the Federal Transit Administration, requires that all projects selected for funding be included in a locally developed coordinated plan. Okay. Federal statutes outline pretty clearly that there are certain required elements of a coordinated plan. Coordinated plans must inventory existing public, private, and nonprofit transportation providers, assess transit needs and mobility gaps in the region, identify any duplicative services, and there must be outreach conducted throughout the process with stakeholders and community members. And then the plans include recommendations for improving coordination and improving transportation services. It prioritizes those recommendations. And then a new element is that it must assess vehicle accessibility and equivalent service requirements in the study area, which equates to whether or not vehicles are accessible for those with physical disabilities. So what are the Access for All transit plans? The Access for All transit plans are the coordinated plans for the 4 counties in the SJTPO region, which are the 4 South Jersey counties of Atlantic, Cape May, Cumberland, and Salem. SJTPO is updating the Access for All transit plans on behalf of the 4 counties. And these plans are updated every 5 years. The previous plan was adopted by the SJTPO Policy Board in March 2021. So, project timeline. We actually started this effort earlier in 2025 with doing a lot of stakeholder meetings and background data analysis, meeting with several stakeholders in all 4 counties in the region. We've also been having an ongoing public survey effort, which was launched in August and is closing today. And then this month, or October, early October, late September, doing the public workshop and stakeholder workshop. We're then going to take all of this data and the plans that we've been working on in the meantime, and in November, December, edit the plans, and then the draft finals will be released in February. There will be public comment period early next year, and then the plans are on track to be adopted again by the SJTPO Policy Board in March 2026, 5 years after the previous version. So existing conditions. Under this task, we're looking at where are the transit needs, where are there mobility gaps, and where do our target populations live within the region. So as mentioned, coordinated plans, there are certain target populations: older adults, people with disabilities, low-income residents, and then I'm also putting zero-vehicle households on here because zero-vehicle households typically have greater transit needs than those households with cars. Older adults, 20% of the SJTPO region is 65 or older, with Cape May having the largest proportion of older residents. 15% of the SJTPO region has a disability of some sort, with Salem County having the largest proportion of residents with disabilities. 13% of residents in the region are low income, and Cumberland County has the largest low income population. And then 10% of households are zero vehicle households, with Atlantic County having the largest proportion of those. What WSP did is we looked at all of that transit, and we looked at all of that demographic and socioeconomic data, and we developed what is called a transit needs index to assess areas that may have need for transportation services. And this is a score that's based on both the number and the density of those priority demographic groups within the different census tracts. Acknowledging this is only one tool for assessing transportation needs. There are other ways to assess transit needs, including community and stakeholder feedback. So we will be looking at the findings from the stakeholder meetings, public survey, and public meetings to also determine areas with high transit need. But the map shown on this slide shows the transit needs index for Atlantic County. And as shown, based on those demographic factors, the area with the greatest transportation needs is Atlantic. They're all in Atlantic City. In Cape May, there's a few pockets of pretty equivalent and greater transportation need. Those pockets include Ocean City, Lower Township, Woodbine, North Wildwood, Wildwood City, and Wildwood Crest. In Cumberland, the areas with the greatest transportation needs are Bridgeton, Millville, and Vineland, based on the Transit Needs Index. And then in Salem, Penns Grove, Carneys Point, and Salem City are all come up as having relatively high transportation needs compared to other areas of the county. So then, the big question I would ask is if you all believe that there are any areas with major transportation needs that were not mentioned. I do open that up to anyone who wants to contribute, and if no one has anything to say, that's okay. Alrighty, you can go ahead. If no one has any addition, that they think we've hit the big points, so. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. Okay. The next part of coordinated plans is that inventory of existing transportation services. There are many different types of transportation services which are used by the general public as well as older adults, people with disabilities, and people with low incomes. This slide lists some of those different types of transportation services that are commonly seen in the South Jersey region, including fixed routes, deviated fixed routes, which are routes that serve deviations within a certain distance of the route if requested by passengers. There's demand response, which are flexible services scheduled based on when customers request trips. Paratransit, which is demand response, which is specialized for older adults and people with disabilities. And then commuter services, which are typically fixed routes that are really catered towards people commuting between home and work. So they will often have peak service periods during morning and afternoon commute hours. This slide lists some of those major transportation providers in the South Jersey region, with NJ Transit obviously being the largest, with being the primary fixed route operator, operating Access Link paratransit service, as well as the Atlantic City Rail Line, which is the only rail service in the 4 South Jersey counties. There also is the South Jersey Transportation Authority, which operates several community shuttles in Atlantic County. The Atlantic County Transportation Unit, which is a demand response service operated by the county. The Cumberland Area Transit System, Cape May Fare Free Transportation, and Salem County Scoot are also all demand response services operated by the counties for their respective residents. The Atlantic City Jitney also operates small fixed routes in some of the shore towns in Atlantic and Cape May counties. And then there are also several nonprofits which operate transportation services in the region. And those nonprofits are going to be specifically identified in each of the county's respective Access for All transit plans. Alrighty, and then the central question here being, how do you believe that transportation services could be improved to better serve older adults, people with disabilities, and people with low incomes in the South Jersey region? And Anthony, if you are on and if you have any opinion, this would be your time to say it.
No, I don't have anything to add to this right now.
All right, sounds good. We'll continue. And then example coordination strategies. So based on that demographic review, based on the review of existing transportation services, and then also based on what we hear through the public survey and stakeholder meetings, public meeting, we are going to finalize these coordination strategies, which will be these general buckets or strategies that we recommend each of the counties advance or implement over the next 5 years. And there will be project recommendations that fall under each strategy. And there will likely be different partners responsible for implementing different strategies or recommendations, and many of these strategies will apply to most of the transportation providers in the region. So this slide lists some of the examples that are being considered for each of the 4 counties, including improved customer experience through better informational materials, better customer service, shorter response windows. The key one will also be infrastructure and technology improvements. A key strategy we will likely be recommending, or we will be recommending for all 4 counties, is to continue to maintain and improve their vehicles, maintain and improve their technologies, including scheduling, dispatch technologies, fare technology. A key strategy going forward will be to also just maintain our existing transportation services. The region did lose some services after 2020 and the COVID-19 pandemic. So going forward, wanting to continue to maintain existing coverage in the region. Always want to improve agency coordination where possible. As mentioned earlier, there are several transportation providers in the region that are offering similar services. So identifying those areas to improve coordination where possible. We want to continue to identify those and improve coordination so as to be better, to more effectively use limited transit dollars. And the last one is that increasing outreach and communication. We were finding through the public survey and stakeholder engagement that some members of the public seem to not know what's already available to them. And rather than create a new service to serve a need, really trying to further promote what is already there, and see if residents can use existing services to meet their needs. So this outlines what will happen after tonight, but we are going to be hosting a stakeholder workshop with stakeholders from the 4 counties next week. After that, the WSP team and SJTPO, we will look at the feedback that was received from both residents and stakeholders through surveys and these 2 meetings, and then finalize the plans for each of the 4 counties. February to mid-March, so in early February, the draft final plans will become available for all 4 counties on the SJTPO website, and they will be open for public comment. And then in late March, the SJTPO Policy Board is expected to adopt the updated Access for All transit plans for the 4 counties. And then any questions? And with that, cool. I think you can close out the presentation if you want. Alrighty. Anthony, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them out. Hopefully that answered most of any questions you have. And I think that us 3 will stay on for a little bit longer in case anybody wanted to join late. but Jasmine and Andrew, if you all want to sign off, I think that's fine as well.
I don't have any follow-up questions. Just got to report what I learned so far. But,
Awesome.
I'm sorry, I didn't, what was that?
He's saying he didn't have really any questions, just that I think that everything had gone with what you knew so far or whatnot. Anthony, if you have any additional questions, we can provide, there's an email for these plans in particular, so you are welcome to reach out to that email. It is what it's.
Access for all at sjtpo.org. Access for all, one word, at sjtpo.org.
okay, sounds good.
Lovely. And thank you, Jasmine, for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Woo.
Good to see you all. Have a good night.
You
Yeah,
too.
you too.
I get, yeah, and
Did you guys on your on the meeting announcement and so forth? Was it like 6 to 8 or 6 to 7, or you just said starting at 6 o'clock?
I think they only did a start time was what Melissa said. So I don't think we have to stay on late, but
I was too. I'm not
no, that's okay.
I mean, it's
You can
really, I would really
sure.
just rely on David's discernment, but I guess maybe about 6:45 if nobody else is here,
Yeah.
just be